All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the KOrenerman podcast. I'm so glad to be with you. My name is Daryl Kinsey, and everything that I'm doing, you can find it at darrylkinsey.com. DARRYLKINCY.com. We got my brand within you. Taking the lead generation is the 501c3. Then we have just any social media links. Not that I'm not crazy about social media, but for business purposes, for ministry, I think it can be used as a tool for ministry. So it's for ministry and for messages. That's what I use it for. KOrenerman podcast. Why is it called a KOrenerman? Well, I'll tell you that in just a second. I am going to share. I got a friend of mine from church, Micky McDougald, and Micky's going to be sharing some things this morning. We're going to have a conversation. And the goal for the KOrenerman podcast and boxing. I love the sport of boxing. Boxing, there's two important people outside of the fighter fighting that fight. There's two important people that fighter has to have a real quick meeting with for 1 minute between 3 minute rounds. That's the cut man and the corner man. If the boxer's cut up, they got to get patched up. They got to get healed. They got to do all kind of stuff. It's like a triage that goes on in the corner. He's getting patched up, then he's getting coached up, and the coaches can see things that the fighter may not be able to see. KOrenerman, the reason, hence for the name of the podcast, is because we're going to the corner. On the corner is a different thing. We're not on the corner. We're going to the corner. And so when we're going to come out, we're not just fighting. We're not just coming off the seat, coming out of our corner to fight, but we want to win. So we hope that we can just kind of equip some people with something that are going to help them win. And the focus of my whole podcast, man, we want to try to leave people with something that will help them if they're dealing with young men, middle school, high school, even maybe into early 20s young men. So that's what we're here for. And I could talk a lot, but I'm excited. I'm going to let my friend, Micky McDougald, I would say McDougald, but
it's been called
Micky
everything in the world, Daryl. Don't worry about it. So.
All right, so I'm going to let Micky kind of share a little bit about himself. Micky, first of all, thank you. And brother, take a few minutes, man, just share some things just about yourself, give people a little insight to yourself, and then we'll get into this thing, man.
Well, thank you, Daryl. Thank you so much for having me on the KOrenerman. I am very excited for this opportunity. Daryl and I go to church together and met here several months back. And like I told him on the phone yesterday, when I saw Daryl and his spirit and his love for the Lord, I'm like, I'm going to be friends with that dude. And that's kind of where this has started. And I'm really excited to be a part of what you got going on. A little about me. I'm 54 years old. My story probably has to start with my grandma, who we just lost. November the 1st, was 103 years old and was basically the rock for our family. She was, you talk about, she died on All Saints Day, and I spoke at the funeral and I said, if there was ever a saint, it was Vivian McDougald. And so she was such the cornerstone for our family. Like you talk about KOrenerman, that's who she was for us. I mean, she had 3 boys. All boys were high school football coaches. The oldest one was my dad. So, and I was the oldest grandchild. So she was just such a symbol of faith in our family. And it was a true blessing. It wasn't a sad day for us. It was more, we knew where, if it was ever, we knew somebody where she was going. She was reunited with her husband, who she outlived for almost 40 years. My grandpa died of Parkinson's disease. So if that tells you what kind of strong lady she was. So she knows a little thing about being tough. So that was a good thing. So that's kind of the backstory of who I am. Our entire life has been about sports. Everybody in my family was a coach or teacher. I am a recently retired small businessman, but I have done everything in my power to stay connected to sports, to give back through sports, and all for the love of our Lord Jesus Christ, basically. So, but what I found in my life is that you have to get to know these kids, these parents, these people who are hurting in a way that they will relate to you. In my world, that has always been sports. Basketball specifically. I was a basketball player in high school, a walk-on at the University of Texas before I got told I wasn't quite good enough anymore. And, a lot of times my identity was in my sport, but then I realized very soon that I wasn't made to be a basketball player. That's not who I was. I was a child of God, and I was made for something much bigger than that round ball, pretty much. So I've gone mentored many kids, all our local high schools here. I coached with my dad for 15 years on a volunteer basis. I was on the headsets with him in the press box for his football games. Coached basketball for about 12 years in the summer for summer league for the high school kids. My daughter, did you see the pictures behind us? I love that analogy of cornerman. In my world, it's about golf. When I got cut from the basketball team, it turned to golf for me. I loved golf, and she became a golfer. Our only child, and she played golf at TCU and the University of Houston. And as you can see in the picture there, I was her caddy. So in my terminology, the caddy and the cornerman are kind of the same exact thing. The golfer is the one who has to do it. The boxer is the one who has to do it. But they better have a good caddy and they better have a good cornerman, or they can't get anything done. So it has been an absolute blessing. I feel like that I am put on this earth to help people. That's pretty much what I feel like I need to do. I feel like I have been blessed beyond measure, and that's not to stay within me. I'm to help others. And so we'll get a little bit more into my specific story later on, but that's kind of the general background of who I am and what I stand for.
Man, that's good. I'm a note taker, and so man, I'm looking down. I was paying attention, but I'm like trying to write and making sure that what I'm writing I can go back to it and refer to it. I wish I knew shorthand. I'm gonna have to develop my own kind of shorthand because I don't try to remember everything. And what I purposely, Mickey, I could have looked up more things on you. And everybody I've interviewed so far, there's people that I know a little bit better than others, but I like the element for me of the unknown with even people that I'm familiar with, because it makes it like I feel like I'm part of the audience. I'm not the one who is doing this podcast, but I'm part of the audience. So for me, I like that. So man, you share some things. I'll tell you a jumping off point. This is funny because I love the way you put it. And so many kids hear it this way, but when you said you were a walk-on at UT, right?
Yes.
And you said, and you told you weren't good enough, I put down AKA cut, right?
Cut. There you go.
Hey, but it doesn't sting as bad if you say, well, maybe I just quite wasn't good enough. But the thing is, we deal with kids who when we deal with self-esteem, and as you were saying, your identity was in that basketball. And we deal with kids who their identity is in sports. And I think sports is a great tool to kind of unite people. There's a couple of things. Sports and food kind of bring people together in ways that other things can't.
Necessities in my life.
And so when you said that, man, tell me, you touched a little bit about how you were able to shift and how you realized that it was bigger than basketball for you. But was that the first time that you dealt with somebody telling you that your skills weren't good enough for our team? And if that was the first time, man, how did you deal with that if it was the first time as a young man in college?
That's a great question, Daryl. So really, to answer your question bluntly, yes, that was the first time. I was a four-year varsity starter at my high school. I set all kinds of records. I had scholarship offers at smaller schools, but I really was wanting to go to the University of Texas. I've been bleeding orange since I was very young. So I knew that it was possibly a long shot to walk on the team, but for you old schoolers there, that was in the BMW days, Lance Blanks, Travis Mays, and Joey Wright, the BMW days. They were the last three college teammates to score 20 points each in a season. So you can kind of understand, all played in the NBA, so you can kind of understand why they weren't really in need of my 5'11" height of my services for the team. So Coach Penders, there was 55 of us that walked on, and he kept 5 of us around for a while. I was one of the 5 that he kept, so I felt that was a pretty big stepping stone for me. Stayed in there a couple weeks, and he called me in his office, and I'm like, this is it. This is the time. I'm going to travel. I'm going to be next to these BMW dudes. Singing the Eyes of Texas, holding up my horns. And he said, I'll never forget, the words were, Mickey, you're going to be incredibly successful in life. No, he said, you're going to be incredibly successful, but it's not going to be in basketball. It's going to be in life. And so, yes, that was the first time I was ever told I wasn't good enough. And did it hurt? Of course it hurt. Of course, anytime we all think we're going to be the NBA, the NFL, the whatever we are. But the truth is 99.9% of us are not going to do that. And I think the very important thing for kids watching, for parents watching, is don't put everything into that. I mean, have a plan B, have a plan C, and have a plan D, because most of the time when we have a plan for our lives, God laughs at that plan. I believe that. And I believe he has our plan. And we very seldom know what our true plan is. But we better be accommodating to what that plan is and how it comes our way. So I would like to say I studied a lot harder. I was going to go to law school. I graduated with about a 3.0. Again, didn't have good enough grades to get into law school. Got rejected on that situation again. But from my parents, starting with my grandma, I was raised the right way. I didn't put my identity in those rejections. I knew that I was meant for more than that. And we'll get into business life later on. But I ended up owning 5 small businesses and just retired at 52 years old. So I would say my life turned out really, really well, because I was able to pour out everything that I learned into the youth of our area. Have a little boy. We'll get into this a little bit now, but my wife was an elementary teacher, and she had a little second grader who was a little African-American boy. She came home and said, I love this kid to death, but he has so many anger issues. I want you to come talk to him. So I came up and talked to him. And again, like I said in the opening, the only way for me to reach this kid was to get him out in a sports related environment. So I took him out there, played one-on-one basketball with him, showed us some things. And he told me later on, the only reason I listened to you, Mr. Micky, is I'd never seen any white boy do that with things like that with a basketball before. And I said, you know what, Bishop, that's what it takes for us to get one-on-one, then that's what we're doing. So fast forward here, he's 25 years old. His older brother's 28. They're the youngest of 11. And they have basically been like my sons. They're the sons that I pretty much never had. And think of the movie Blindside without the NFL and without all the drama, because we're still as tight as could possibly be. And I love those kids to death. And sports pretty much brought us together to do that. So they both live in Austin right now. The older one, Jamarcus, was a football player at Tarleton State. Against my wishes and against my wantings, he went to the University of Texas because that's where I went. He wanted to kind of mimic his mentor and walked on, and they ended up giving him a scholarship, and we traveled all around the country watching him play. It was the greatest thing in the world. And so it's truly a storybook thing of, like, you can truly find peace within whatever you're doing. Now, guess what? He thought he was going to the NFL. He didn't go to the NFL. We put Bishop, the younger one, through barber school, and now he cuts hair in Austin. So we all have a purpose, and sometimes our purpose is not what we think it is. And for, like I said, 99.9% of us, it's not in sports, but we're all here to glorify God. And those 2 kids love the Lord like you wouldn't believe. And it's one of the coolest things that's ever happened in my life. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a whole lot of fun.
It's interesting, man. You said the kid who you basically mentored was named Bishop?
Bishop was the young one. Jamarcus was the older one. Yeah.
Okay, Jamarcus was the one who was the football player.
Yes, correct. Even though Bishop was the high school quarterback. Bishop was a high school varsity quarterback. They both played football, but
They both played football.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. And I was trying to write, but was your wife teaching or?
She was his teacher. She was Bishop's second grade teacher. Yes, and he had.
So he was second grade.
Yeah. So the and this is going to be very pertinent to a lot of your viewers here. That was a single mom who was trying to raise 11 kids. Yeah, 11 kids, and
that's a lot of kids.
The father figure, there was no father figure. I mean, he was in the penitentiary, and he never really was a part of their lives. And they were just really wanting that father figure in their life. And I was like, that's me. I mean, that's what I want to be if they allowed it. Wow. And the mom had to allow me to step in and do that. And she did wholeheartedly. We're still very, very close today. And it's been an incredible journey that there's hope. I mean, my big thing in life is that there's hope for everybody. It didn't seem like there was hope. She was in a very abusive relationship, and she had to take her kids and get out and get to a shelter. She did that. And after years and years and years, she has overcome, and those kids are doing absolutely fantastic now. And so I'd like to think that, my wife and I had a little bit to do with that. More so than that, it's kind of like that that saying about who helped who more. They might have think I helped them more, but it might have been the other way around. Truly, so
That's crazy.
it
That
was
you know
special.
what? You touched on several things on that one. Talked about the single mom, which I was sharing with you yesterday. That I really feel like one of the excuse me, one of the maybe bigger audiences who may be tuning in and get things from this podcast. This is my personal opinion. Men, I want you, men, if you're listening, men, I want you to prove me wrong on this. But I honestly believe that if you have a single father raising a boy or boys, or if you have a single mom raising boys, I believe that the dad, in some cases, feels like I don't need any help. I'm a man. I know how to get this thing done. Which I don't agree. I think that even a community of other men can help another man raise his son or sons. But I believe that women are more readily, are more honest, and they'll say, listen, I need some help. They're not going to just give their sons over to anybody, but they're looking for somebody that they can trust that will have their son's best interest at heart. So I know when you said that, here's another thing. Man, you covered on so many things, dude, because with what you said, you're a white guy dealing with a black family, and you even said the kids said he never saw a white guy do what you did with the basketball. So all of a sudden that ball, that orange ball or a brown leather ball, whatever you want to call it, that thing just brought two sides together.
100%.
And I've never, I didn't know I was going to touch on this, but I've never, I wasn't raised, I was always raised, man, I've always respected people. In school, in elementary school, my best friend, I grew up in Oakland, man. I grew up in the heart of, I don't know if you knew, but Oakland was where the Black Panthers originated, in Oakland. I grew up in Oakland. I remember times in elementary school, we get out of school, we go to school, and all of a sudden they come to the class, they just announce, okay, we're going to let you guys out of school early. Now, remember, we didn't go to school that morning. It wasn't anything planned on early dismissal. All of a sudden, we're elementary school kids, like first or kindergarten through sixth grade.
Wow.
They come and they say, hey, we're going to let you guys out of school early. We want you, when you leave school, we want you to go straight home and lock the doors. This is what I remember.
Wow.
Nobody told us why. And I remember that happening, and I learned years ago, that was because there was just so much tension between, in particular, Black Panthers and law enforcement. And that's a whole other story. But the point I want to make, one of my best friends in that environment was a white kid named Robert Fox. I have not been able to find Robert Fox. Robert Fox, if you happen to tune into this, Robert, I'm looking for you. Robert was, to this day, he lived, there was a rec center, and we all went to play ball. So the school was by the rec center, and then the rec center, man, we played, that's where I learned how to play baseball on that field. There was two fields. There was a big field that was behind, and there was another field that was closer to the main road. I learned how to play baseball on that field, man. And we had basketball. They had a gym there. Learned how to play ping pong, so on and so forth. But Robert Fox lived by the school, and I lived about 5 minutes away from the school. I don't know to this day, other than I just have to say as an older man now, that was part of God's plan for my life. But I've never had an issue with skin color. And my mom and my mom grew up in the Deep South, but she never had either. So I'm grateful for that, and I love the fact of what you said, because this is something else where so much of today, a lot of people want to pit. I'll just say this: I'm not going to spend time on it, but I believe that there's people in our community, the Black community, who have to keep turmoil going. They have to keep race as an issue because it's profitable. They make money on it. Wow. I can say it. If you said it, somebody can maybe point a finger and say, well, what's this white guy say? I can say it. And they can't say, well, why is it black? No, I can say it because I'm going to use some street language, because I be black.
Sure.
So I can say
sure.
I can say it that way, Micky. So I love the fact of how sports just breaks that thing down. I have or breaks those barriers. What would you say? I want to stay, for some reason, I just can't move past that family. What did you discover? Maybe you or your wife, that was kind of eye-opening about that family or those kids being a different culture. Was there anything you could think of that was really like, Wow, I never thought about this until I started having a relationship with this kid.
So interestingly enough, so I grew up. So now I've been, like I said, I've been blessed beyond measure. Live in the Woodlands, which is a predominantly wealthy white neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in
Mm-hmm.
Conroe, Texas, in a mobile home, and so
Really?
I literally pretty much, when you say self-made, I am the definition of self-made. I wasn't spoon-fed. I wasn't anything. Now I had the best mom and dad in the world. They showed love beyond love for me. They gave me
Mm-hmm.
the tools to succeed, but it wasn't like I was handed anything. I had to earn everything I got. And so I came from a little
Mm.
different background, whereas a lot of these people here in our area, again, that's a touchy subject, but I feel like they
Mm-hmm.
were just given everything in their life. So being a
Mm-hmm.
basketball
Mm-hmm.
player, what the big majority of my friends when I was young were black. I loved the
Mm.
black culture. I
Mm.
loved
Mm.
being around that. Because to me,
Mm.
to be honest with you, the white kids weren't any good. So I was like, I wanted to be around people who were good. And so it was
Uh-huh.
not, that wasn't that rare for me. When I come here and I do a lot of my mentoring now and stuff, I have to make sure that I take them back to where I was originally from, to say, don't just think you're dealing with some rich white dude, because you don't know where I come from.
That's
You don't know
good.
who I
That's really
am.
good.
And
That's
so
good.
when I met Bishop, I shocked him a little bit, because of the one thing that I remember Bishop telling me was, I've never really spent that much time around a white person, so I didn't really know what you wanted or what you were trying to get out of this. And I was like, that's the thing. I
Really?
wasn't trying to get anything out of this. I mean, I would, and it took a little while for some of his brothers and sisters to understand that, because it was truly out of love. I mean, it was out of love. And so, but I
Mm-hmm.
think, to answer your question directly, the one thing I learned from that relationship is that I had to build trust. Like, maybe if the kid was white, I still have to build trust, but I might have had to build even more trust with him, because I just looked different than him. And it didn't matter if it was black, white, brown, green, purple. I just looked different than he did. And so I had to build trust with him of why I was actually doing what I was doing. And it wasn't until his mom gave me like some pretty serious parameters on what I could do with him discipline wise. I'll never forget, quick story. He was acting crazy. The principal was a super good friend of mine. The principal's dad and my dad coached against each other way back in the day. So I knew her very well. She gave me free reign to come to that elementary school whenever I wanted to. When they couldn't handle him, they called me. And they
Mm.
brought in the big guns whenever they couldn't handle him. So I came in and I deal with him. And so one day he was just acting crazy, and just, he had a lot of anger issues because of what he had seen. No kid should see that at that age. So nobody knew
Abusive
why he
mom
was
being
doing
abused.
that. It was a lot for him to process. So I came in, and all the kids were out in the little hall. There's like six classes of kids. And he was saying, "What are you doing here?" When I walked in here, and I said, "Come here." And I walked in, and not even my wife's room, another room, I slammed the door so hard that all the stuff fell off of stuff in her classroom. And I pulled off my belt.
Ooh.
And I said, "Bishop, here's what's about to happen. I'm about to whip your butt right here." And he goes, "You're not going to touch me." And he said, "My mom won't let you." And I said, "I just got off the phone with your mom, and she said she gave me 100% permission to do whatever I needed to do, because here's what you don't understand. I
Oh
love you,
boy.
and I love you so much. I'm gonna make you do the right thing."
Wow.
Now, was I gonna whip him? No,
Wow.
100%. I was not going to, because I would have been in jail. My wife would have been fired. It would have been a bad situation. But my point is, I had to get across to him I
Uh,
care that much, that I wanted him to do the right thing. And his
you
tears
got
welled
his
up, and
attention.
it got his attention. And from that day on, we were like this, tight as can be.
Really? Mickey, bro, that's powerful right there. Woo, that you cared that much about him. Oh man, that story right there.
I got tears in my eyes thinking about it, Daryl.
I,
I mean,
I I can tell because you were right back to that office.
sure,
You can
no
hear the
doubt.
door slam.
No doubt.
You can
And
remember
I
his
looked
you can
out
remember
there,
his,
and his eyes were like this big. And I turned around, and every one of the teachers and every one of the kids was just staring at me. And I'm like, I already messed up now. But, but you know what? What do they call half step? I don't half step. I'm not half stepping. I'm
yeah.
going all in with this
I'm going
deal.
all the way,
And when that
man. But
happened,
he,
it was a whole different ball game from then on. I mean, I coached him in Little League. I got
mm,
him in Little League. I started get his grades went up. He was flunking everything. He became an A and B student. I mean, he felt a love that he had not felt. He felt it from his mom. But to your point earlier, you need a father figure and you need a mother figure. It may not be your true mother and your father, but you need a male and a female role model in your life. I'm a firm believer in that. You have to have that, whether you're a female or a male, because you're just coming from two different versions. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was a blessing in disguise for us, but it was bigger, I think, for him, because he realized all of a sudden, man, this dude really does care, and
Yeah.
I better do right, not just for my mom, but for someone else who's putting themselves out
Yes.
there. So
Man, that's and for his mom to give you the green light to say you can discipline. If you need to discipline him, you can discipline him. She knew that she needed that kind of help,
100%.
and and I don't even know what, man. That story right there. We'll have more. We'll have to be interviewed again, Mickey, because there's more. There's a lot more to like unpack about some of the things you shared. Um, I'm stuck
This
on
is
that.
the
I'm
tip
trying
of
to
the iceberg,
remember.
Daryl. This is why, so for your viewers, this is why when I saw him, Daryl is a very charismatic person. When I saw him in church, I'm like, you know what? Me and this dude got a lot in common. And you didn't even know anything about that story that I just told you. And I don't know a lot about your past,
Mm-mm,
but it's funny how
mm-mm,
God puts people in your life sometime that you're just supposed to connect with. I really
mm-hmm,
believe that. I just believe that
mm-hmm,
there's certain people that you're supposed to connect with. And I know this just from this quick little podcast. Both of our
mm-hmm,
hearts are in the same place. We're looking for the
mm-hmm,
same thing. We're looking to
mm-hmm,
try to help people to figure out where that is. If it's locally, like we talked about, maybe something down the road that we end up doing for the local community. But if it's
mm-hmm.
in Alaska or it's overseas or whatever, and you're just know that there's hope. I mean, there is hope, you
Whew,
know.
man, bro, you know something? I'm gonna share this, bro. I didn't have, and again, we'll do another. We'll do another. We'll probably gonna do another few interviews down the
We're
line.
gonna
I'm
have to
serious.
do a bunch.
Yeah, yeah. But I will share this: that I grew up in a single parent family. Mom and dad's divorced when I was 9 years old, and to this day, I still remember the morning going to school, and dad's stuff is there, and coming home from school that day, and it's gone. And I still remember, man, me, my mom, and my sister, who's about a year and a half younger than me, we're all in the living room just crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember that I was 9 years old, man. I
Wow.
still remember that. I did have a relationship with my dad over years. He used to come pick me up once a week from school. We talked several times. He come pick me up, man, and we go. He picked me up from school. I was okay, they called it Husky. They had this section in the stores called Husky when I was a kid. That was a nice way for saying fat, right? So we walk in the store. My mom always was saying, "Where's the Husky section?" She didn't have to ask her, because if the people saw me, they're probably like, "The Husky section's over there." So I was, man. So the thing is, like, I wasn't obese, and I don't think that affected my self-esteem, because I was good at sports. I really didn't realize how good I was. I thought I was in like a neighborhood like legend, right? I mean, I'm always the captain of the teams in the neighborhood.
Sure.
Everybody wants me to pick. Da 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 da. But man, when I started, I'll share this. I share why I needed somebody like you when I was Bishop's age and growing up, because I didn't allow anybody to push me beyond what was comfortable for me. So and consequently, Mickey, what I learned how to do, and I had to deal with this as an adult, is I learned I was very good at quitting. Bro, I always tell people, if it was a Quitters Hall of Fame, I'm in there, brother. I got the gold jacket, I got the green jacket, whatever jacket the Quitters Hall of Fame wear, I got a couple of them. And so I knew how to quit, and I can have an excuse why, because I didn't let anybody, I didn't embrace what others saw in me. I just couldn't see it. I just could see the other kid who maybe I was intimidated by, who I thought was a better ball player than me, a better drummer with me. Right as I say that, I can see the names. There's a friend of mine, professional drummer, William Kennedy. All he's done is picked up drumsticks, man, the drum set all his life. He's a professional drummer. Another kid was playing third base when I was in high school. He was, I thought he's better than me. His name is John Butler. I call these names. They don't mean anything to you or the people listening. I remember them.
Sure.
Because of I remember how intimidated I was, but I had a baseball coach, and he would always call me, "Hey, Kinsey," my last name Kinsey. Say, "Hey, Kinsey, you when you're coming out, are you gonna play? You gonna play?" Man, I kept avoiding Coach Luzar. I didn't realize that Coach Luzar saw something in me. Coach Luzar coached some stud ball players. I'm gonna tell you somebody who came out of our high school in Oakland, Gary Pettis.
Wow, Astros third base
I got a
coach.
picture. I got a picture right now, Gary in the dugout, man, as a senior in high school. I got a picture from a high school, our newspaper, with Gary sitting in the dugout. Gary doesn't have that picture.
Wow.
I got that picture, man. And so Coach Luzar coached people, and Gary was just one. That team, Gary played for a couple of baseball teams, which were traveling teams. Everybody knew KTVU, Porterhouse were two of the traveling teams, and Granny Goose. It was three teams, Granny Goose, KTVU, Porterhouse. Gary played on all those teams, man. But the point is, Coach tried to get me to come out and play. I just couldn't see it. And so I didn't have a Micky in my life to push me and say, hey, if you started, you're not gonna quit. You got to at least go to this point, and then you can look at, do you still want to continue or not? So that kid, Bishop, I'm sure he realizes how important you were, and he realized it as he continued to move through life. And probably, I don't know if he's ever shared this with you, but he probably looked around and saw other people who didn't have it, and that even built more value into what you were doing, man. Coming from another neighborhood, coming to him, when he could look and see, wow, all the people I have in my neighborhood, but a lot of these kids aren't getting what I'm getting from somebody coming from outside the neighborhood to me and to my family. So, brother, it speaks volumes in terms of like you and your wife. That's the unsung hero too.
She started it.
Giving you the green light to say, she's letting you know, I got a kid, he needs some help. And you responded, and you didn't say, well, let me go look and see if I can find some help. Like, no, step up. Yeah. I mean, I've been trained for this, but God had equipped you for it. You may not have any formal training, 100%. But God had equipped you for it, man. 100%. God had equipped you for it. So I'm gonna share this. We gonna get ready to wrap up, but then we're gonna do other ones. But okay. Listen, Micky, you know it's KOrenerman podcast, so right there, right?
There you go.
These are focus mitts, right? They call them focus mitts or pads. And I know I love the sport of boxing. I was telling you that there's a friend of mine in Southern California. He coaches a boxer, a Colombian kid, Alex Castro. I'll send you links on him. Alex is going to be fighting at the end of May in Miami. I plan on going to that fight. He's fighting with Don King Productions now. Don King signed him about 6 or 8 months ago. So I'll share this and then I'm going to ask you a question. They went over game plan. They had the game plan, man, in the gym. And Alex had a title fight with a guy named Ian Green about 8 months ago. Alex, they had the plan. Alex beat him bad in the first round. I mean, beat him up. Ian was able to make it to the corner. Alex was out of gas. Alex fought the fight with the distance, 12 rounds. Ian Green got the decision. Alex could have had a belt that night. It was a WBC, I think, middleweight belt. He didn't get it because why? He didn't remember what they focused on in the gym. He didn't stay with the fight plan that they had in the gym. And I talked to his coach the next day, and the coach said that wasn't the game plan. He said, but what happened was Alex saw blood. Alex was like it was a shark in the water. Alex saw blood. Alex I could take him out this round. He didn't take him out that round, and he was gassed. He was fighting just because he was in such excellent condition the next 11 rounds. Danny said that was the best lesson that Alex got because since then, he's always been focused, but he's a totally different boxer now, and he pays attention to everything that they share with him now. So this is what I want to end with. I want to ask you shared a couple things, but is there any one or two things that you want to share? If it's some moms listening, if it's some dads listening, some grandmas, some grandpas, aunts, uncles, older siblings, is there anything you want to share with them that you would say? And even if it's a young man, that may happen to tune in and like, wow, let me listen to this. What would you say they need to like these focus mitts? What would you say one or two things you would encourage them as young men to focus on that will not just help them where they're at, but where they're going?
So a couple things come to mind. One thing is I'm not a big boxing fan, but I did live in the Mike Tyson era a little bit, and I know what Mike Tyson did to his opponents. And one of the
you know what short fights are like.
Mike Tyson actually said was, everybody has a plan against me until they get hit in the mouth. So, and here's my analogy to that. You're going to get hit in the mouth in life,
Yes.
right? You're going to, but here's the thing: you got to know what your plan is, and you got to stick to your plan when you get hit in the mouth, because we're going to get hit in the mouth. One of the things that helped me, and I'm
Mm.
not saying this as any kind of high and mighty, but I'm a non-drinker. Well, I took a lot of stuff in high school and college for not drinking. I got called everything in the book, but guess what? I wasn't going to do that. All my friends did. It
Mm-hmm.
was okay. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
judgmental against them. It just wasn't for me. So I had to make that
Mm-hmm.
decision long before that party or that night or that day of what I was going to do and what I was not going to do. So my message would
Mm.
be, have that plan going into a situation, a party, a
Mm-hmm.
divorce, a fight, a whatever it's going to be. And you better know who and what you are and why you were created. Because if you leave yourself open to a split second decision, 99% of the time, we're going to make the wrong decision. You better have that made in your mind of how you're going to handle this before you know right and wrong. Most kids know right and wrong, but how important is it for you to do right and wrong? And you may not see the consequences of what that is for down the road, but the older you get, the more you will understand. I kind of want to end with that picture behind me. It's one of my favorite pictures. Is kind of like the corner man, but that's my daughter Brooke and I, when I was caddying for her, and we were in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and it was pouring rain, and Sharon took it up, and so I
Wow.
had the umbrella sheltering us. When you're a kid, you need some shelter, you need some help, and you need some guidance. So don't think that you know everything. You will at one point in your life learn how to handle those situations, but get to somebody who you trust, who's going to guide you along the way, the right way. And then as you get older, you yourself can be that mentor, that help for others. Because one of my biggest favorite sayings in the world is, you can't help others until you help yourself. And so, but
Mm-hmm.
I think, Daryl, where you and are in life, we're here to help
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. The last thing I'll say is one of my favorite Bible verses is Luke 12:48. And it says in part that basically, if you have been blessed beyond measure, then you pretty much have a duty to help others. And that's obviously summarizing pretty much what that verse talks about. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
to what to if you have been giving great gifts, you have to share those gifts. And so find those people who
Mm.
are willing to share those gifts and help you. And to whom much has been given, much is required. And
Yes.
I think that we're here for it, but you got to be willing to, you got to be like Bishop and Bishop's mom. You have to open your hands and open your heart and know that you'll be willing to look for somebody who's going to try to help you.
Man, that's so good. Man, that's so good, bro. That was so rich. You got to promise me right here in front of whoever's watching this, man. We're gonna do this another few times. We got to do this again and
I'd be
cover some
happy
more
to, man.
stuff.
I got many stories. That's just the tip of the iceberg there. But I love
Man,
what you're doing, and I appreciate. The older I get, the more I appreciate you and people like you who are really trying to put themselves out there, because you don't have to be doing this. I mean, you could just be putting your head down in the sand and doing your own thing, but that's not who you're about. You're trying to help others, and I love it. I really love it to death. So
man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, man, listen, I always do this, and then guess what? You know what this is?
there you
You got that?
go.
That's a bell. So we come to the center of the ring, ladies and gentlemen. The judges' scorecard is in. It's a unanimous decision. All three judges see it 145 to 140 for the winner. And still champion, Micky McDougald.
Thank you, Daryl.
So,
Thank you so much.
hey, so man, I appreciate you, Micky. Share. You got before you go. You got to share. You say you got a book coming out. Share whatever you want to share about the book and how people can good if they can pre-order whatever. To share that,
So
brother.
we will have to get into this next time a little bit more. But my book is
Yes.
called "Life is All About Assists." I just got put into the Texas Basketball Museum for basically Texas high school state record assists for assists. I was a point guard,
Ooh.
so I could dish it a little bit. I could score too, but I could mostly dish it. And so the book is called "Life is All About Assists." It's coming out probably in July or August. And we will be in touch to let you know about that. But beautiful stories in there about how sports relate to life. and how life is truly about helping others. Because I think, like I've shared many times already today and through my life, you will be incredibly blessed about how much you will get out of helping someone else. Not only what you can do to help them, but it will help yourself in the long run. And so that's a lot what it's about. It's a sports book that's not about sports. It's about life. So
Man, thank you, thank you, thank you. That was Mickey. That's my friend, y'all. My friend, my brother in Christ. Great man. Man, I love you. I appreciate you. I want to thank you for today, everybody. That's Micky McDougald. I'm Daryl Kinsey, DarrylKincy.com. We're done. We're going to get ready to go. And we're going to the corner. We're going to come out again. And we'll see y'all later. Mickey, thank you very much, bro. Love you.
thank you. Love you, man.
All right. Bye
All right.
now.
All right. Bye.